Have you ever wanted to add lights to your transparent N64 controller? Well, this video is for you. Stay tuned. Some things you're going to need for this mod: small Phillips head screwdriver, solder and a soldering iron, a hot glue gun, wire clippers, wire strippers, and some wire. The smaller the gauge, the better. Also, I'm going to choose to use resistors. I'm using the 470 ohm like I do in just about every single LED mod I do. You're also going to need LEDs. I'm using blue 3mm. They're flat tops, so they're wide angle LEDs. Some other things you may need are a lighter and some heat shrink. Okay, to get started, we're going to need to remove the 9 Phillips head screws from the rear of the controller. Okay, after you removed all 9 screws, go ahead and just pull it apart. You can go ahead and place the back shell aside. As you can see, this controller needs a good cleaning, so it's a good time to actually do that also. Okay, from here what we're gonna need to do is unplug the joystick. Remove this board right here from the back. It just clips in, and the joystick just unplugs. Okay, from here all you need to do is pull off this board. Comes off super easy, and you can go ahead and set the top aside. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is figure out where we're placing our LEDs. I will be putting 6 LEDs. You can add as many as you want, but keep in mind the more you add, the harder it is to get the thing back together. So I think 6 is a good number, so I'm going to go with 6. I'm going to be placing 3 along the top. I'm going to put one here, one in the middle, one on the other side, and then on the back I will be placing an LED right here. Actually, no, I'll be placing an LED right here, and then I'll be placing another one right here, and then on the middle I will be placing the LED right off to the side right here, because there's actually a little piece, as you can see right here, that blocks it from the middle. You could just chop that out if you wanted, but I'm just gonna put the LED to the side. Okay, so let's get started with adding the LEDs. I'm gonna be using hot glue. It can be a little frustrating, as hot glue tends to hold things in place pretty well if you use a lot of hot glue, but the more hot glue you use, I feel like the worse it looks. So I'm just gonna fast forward through this whole part, and yep, let's do it. Okay, now that we have mounted our 6 LEDs, there's the 3 on the front, the 2 on the back, and the one also kind of on the back of the joystick. Okay, from here we're going to need to connect them all up, but you probably want to know where we're connecting them to. So our positive pad would be this pad, and our negative would be this pad. If you need help finding where those are, go to the back and you can see our red, which is our positive, and the black, which will be our negative, and just follow those to the front of the board. Again, our positive, our negative, and the one right below it is actually our data one, but that has no relevance to us, but now you know. So from here, what we can start by doing is adding in our resistor to our positive pad. So I'm just going to go ahead and solder that on right now. Like so. As you can see, I soldered the end of the resistor directly to the positive pad. I'll actually be connecting the other end of the resistor to our positive lead of this LED. I like to bend them all together and just make them work and fit. Be cautious of all the other pads in the area. You don't want to short them together because that could be bad. For now, just connect them all together. I'll show you how I do it. An LED is already fallen off. This is why I hate hot glue. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is connecting all the common leads together. Now all these three LEDs share a common positive from the resistor. Okay, from here I'm going to use a small piece of wire to connect the negative to the negative pad. Okay, so I got the three LEDs wired in on the front. Now would be a good time to make sure they work. Again, double check and make sure that none of your leads are shorting anything out. And as you can see that they all light up, so that's good. Now we can move on to wiring the rest of them up. Okay, so on the rear ones, how I wired them up the last time, I just ran wires and connected them into the wires on the back. Remember, red is your positive and black is your negative. Also, if you didn't remember, which you should have, because you can unwire the ones in the front, your longer leg is always positive on LEDs. I'm going to be wiring all mine up with black wire only because it's actually a thinner gauge and it's the only thin gauge I have, so don't let that confuse you while I'm doing it. The way I'm going to wire my negatives into these, instead of actually just cutting and splicing into them, I'm going to use a little piece of like an LED leg. This is actually from the resistor, the piece I cut off. I'm just going to shove it in the connection on the back. It seems kind of ghetto, I know, but it actually works really, really well. And I've never had a controller not work because of it. Just add a little bit of hot glue over the top of it so it doesn't come loose. And you should be golden. Again, also, there's more than one way to do this. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, go ahead and splice them in. Or you could always run wires around to the front. Just keep in mind how you're going to run wires through the shell, because there's all these little spots on the shell that will prevent it from going back together correctly if you happen to have a wire in the way. So also keep that in mind. As you can see, it actually doesn't look very ghetto once you get it all wired up right. So now what we're going to need to do is wire in our positive, which I'm just going to use the exact same style. Again, I'm also using black wire for the positives, so don't let that confuse you. Okay, so once you got 2 out of 3 wired in on the back, go ahead and give it another test. So just plug it in. As you can see, they're both working. Now all we gotta do is wire in our last LED. Okay, so once you've added wires to this LED, you can go ahead and put your board back into the front piece of the shell. And you can connect everything back up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my positive and my negative, and I'm going to connect them into the positive and negative legs of this LED. As you remember, there was this thing right here in the middle, and I put it on that side of it. So I want to keep everything going to that side just to prevent any problems I may have with putting it back together. Okay, so here it is all wired up. I think it actually came out really nice. I always worry about LED mods for controllers not coming out nice, but this definitely came out nice. Go ahead and plug it in one more time to make sure all of your LEDs work. And after you've verified that they all work, you're just going to want to dab some hot glue over this connector, just like I said, to help them not come loose. So I'm going to plug it in, make sure it works, and then add my hot glue. And success. Everything works on the back, and everything works on the front. So that's awesome. Now I can just dab some of my hot glue on this connector over here. Now don't go super crazy on the hot glue. Again, there's not a ton of room inside the controller shell, but there should be enough to get this all back together. Okay, so let's just put it back together now.
Okay, here's the finished product. As you can see, it looks pretty good. It doesn't look this bright in person. It's a bit more subtle in person. So yeah, I hope this tutorial helped you guys. If it did, please rate, comment, and subscribe.